What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more match previews for you guys. It's time to put that disaster of Wednesday night behind us, the 1-0 defeat to Sheffield United, and look forward to the next game, which is Wolves away, Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff at Molineux. Wolves gone through a manager change this year. I mean, things really haven't looked totally right for Wolves since maybe the latter stages of the Nuno era there. Since Lopetegui's joined, I mean, what are you feeling about Wolves?
I think they've been kind of mixed. I think it's been more positive than negative. They've got some big results. They've beaten the likes of Liverpool at home. They've been in every game pretty much that they've played, apart from maybe losing to Man City away. They've had fairly decent results, and there's definitely been an upturn, but their problems don't seem to be completely gone. And I think they still have very similar problems that they did under Nuno and under Bruno Lage, where they look good on the counter and stuff. They're quite a defensively solid team, but they do struggle to score goals, and they do struggle to have that quality up front. They have tried to fix the issue by bringing the likes of Matías Cunha from Atletico Madrid, the likes of Pablo Sarabia from Sevilla, I think, and they've improved slightly, but it hasn't quite been the answer. They still, if you look at their forward line, they still, I think, lack that cutting edge, and I don't think they're that great at creating chances. But what they are very good is they're quite good on the counter-attack, and what they do have, in my opinion, is probably one of the best centre midfield partnerships in the league in Moutinho, Neves and Matheus Nunes. That's a top 6 central midfield, in my opinion. So that is going to be the big worry for me, trying to keep those midfielders quiet and stop them dominating the game. But I feel like with Wolves, it's very similar from previous managers in the terms of when they're the team on the counter. Well, if you come at Wolves and you allow them to counter attack, that's when they're at their most dangerous. When you allow them space going the other way. But if you kind of frustrate them and turn their game into a bit of a slog, I think they do struggle to create the chances, and then if you can pick your moments, I think you can deal with them going forward if you let them take the initiative in a way.
So, having said that, you're feeling that maybe the way that Spurs set up and Spurs play, it might play into our hands a little bit more on the weekend than maybe Wolves' hands.
Yeah, I think the way we would approach the game kind of suits this kind of game. If we kind of invite them onto us, and then we can spring on them and frustrate them. I think that's probably a better way to go than a team like, say, Liverpool, when they went to Molineux. They kind of went for, obviously, gung-ho for all guns blazing, and they got unstuck. They missed a few big chances, and then Wolves were able to absolutely kill them on the counter-attack. So I think we probably do play in a way which would suit competing against a team like Wolves, but you just got to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. If you give them the lead and things like that, then also obviously you're going to be stuck. And you have to make sure that when we are on the counter, we are getting players forward, and we're making sure that we're providing overloads in the wide areas, because they're a lot more narrow than they used to be. Wolves were under Lopetegui. They like to play a back 4 now. Not they switch from a back 3 to a back 4, which they've been playing for years. So you can get at them on the overloads in the wide areas, but you have to make sure you're getting those players forward. But also you have to make sure you're frustrating Wolves when they're on the ball. And because I really think that they struggle to have that cutting edge.
When you're looking at the form that Wolves are coming into this game in, not the greatest amount of form. I think it's only 2 wins in their last 5 games, but that win coming against Liverpool and against Southampton. But they have lost in the last 2 games. They've lost to Bournemouth at home. They've drawn with Fulham. They've lost to Liverpool away in their most recent game. And when you're looking at their home form, it's very like... do you remember when we had, I think it was under Conte, and we were just like consecutive win-loss. That's what they're going through at home at the moment, where they lost the last home game against Bournemouth, then beat Liverpool, then lost to Liverpool in the Cup, then beat West Ham, lost to Man U, beat Gillingham in the Cup, then lost to Arsenal, beat Leeds at home, then lost to Brighton. I mean, it's like win-loss. If we're going by that rule, they're due a win this weekend, which ain't the greatest thing, but Why are they so inconsistent? Is it just because of their frailties going forward, do you reckon? Because it is a common theme and a consistent theme they've had for many years now.
Yeah, and it seems to be that whatever manager they have, they can't find that consistency when it comes to scoring goals. I just think that they're trying to rely on having a solid base foundation going at the back, and then they know that if they don't really have, apart from midfield, they don't have good enough players probably in the defence or the attack to really go toe-to-toe with teams, and they have to really pick their moments to spring on teams and get forward. And I think it's difficult for a team like Wolves to find that consistency when they don't have look, if you look at they've got a good squad, but they're not they were competing for like top 6 and top 7 like a couple of years ago, but when they were, I think, promoted from the Championship to the Premier League in 2018. They were never asked to compete for the European football for consistently. So whenever, usually, they have good players and they a lot of the time they get bought and stuff like that. I think it's tough for a team like Wolves to consistently compete. And I think the season was going really badly at the beginning. Lopetegui has kind of steadied the ship a bit because Large was losing many games. I think they were bottom of the league for a good time under Bruno Large before Lopetegui.
Threat of the drop, by the
of
way.
But they're out of the relegation zone now. He's steadied the ship a bit. And the results have turned slightly, but as you say, no win the last 3. They've won 2 of the last 5. So maybe they're reverting a bit, and I think a lot of the times obviously you have that new manager bounce and then it starts to revert back to type, and maybe that's happening for Wolves right now, but doesn't mean it's going to be an easy game where it's going to be very tough going away at a team who are very defensively solid. And we saw, to be honest, our away form, our last 3 away games, Leicester, AC Milan, Sheffield United, 3 teams who are defensively. Sorry, not Leicester, but Leicester was different. They kind of attacked us and blasted out the water. But AC Milan and Sheffield United, 2 teams who offensively didn't offer much, but all they did was made sure they frustrated us, and then when they got a moment to go forward, they punished us. So Wolves, I reckon, will be looking at that as a blueprint.
Yeah. Has it coincided, maybe, this problem that Wolves have with Raul Jimenez getting that massive injury and being out the frame? They've tried so many things and so many different players to try and work a way around that. I mean, that Sasa Kalicic, whatever, how do you ever pronounce his name? He came in, got a massive injury straight from the off. They've brought many other players.
Diego Costa came and went.
Yeah, Diego Costa, Cunha, Sarabia. I mean, all these players have come in, and they can't seem to get consistent goals from any of them, which is a big problem for them. And I feel like once they've got to hit gold with one of them at least once. And once they do get a proper striker up there, I do feel maybe their fortunes might change a little bit. But when you're looking at the head-to-head between the 2 clubs, Spurs have won 2, drawn 2, and lost 1 in our last 5, where the previous 5 was probably even more split than that. It's probably like evens to loss to wins. I remember there was a time where we would be winning at Molineux, they'd be winning at our place. Things have changed a bit since then, since his Wolves' dip. But do you read anything into the form between the 2 clubs?
Well, we haven't played Lopetegui yet, so it's impossible to say. I don't think you can read too much into it. I don't think our last game was a draw, was it? 2-2? We beat them beginning of the season 1-0.
It was 2-2 because it was on penalties. We beat them on penalties in the
cup.
No,
but we beat them early in the season. 1-0.
Yeah.
1-0. Harry Kane with a header. That was under Bruno Lage. So I don't think you can read too much into it. We've got a good recent record against them, but I think it's one of those games where if we make no mistakes at the back, I think we can win. I think that's the way we're going to have to play from now. That's what we've been playing all season, and how we're going to have to play from now to the end of the season. Keep games really tight, make sure we're not making any mistakes, and then find moments of quality. Because at the moment, it seems as though if we kind of try and force the issue a bit, we get opened up too much. Our defence isn't good enough to cope. So I think tomorrow it's going to be a very similar game. It will be a very similar game to the Chelsea game. It will be a very similar game to the West Ham game, but we're going to be away from home, so the home team are going to have a bit more confidence to come at us and maybe create more chances, which has got to be a worry. We've got to only see how Liverpool performed there, losing 3-0 not so long ago. So we just got to be careful that we don't let them get too on top of us. But if we can keep it tight, I think the way forward is just making sure that we're not making any mistakes and then picking our moments.
talking about Tottenham's form coming into it, obviously, our form's going really well in the league at the moment. 4 wins out of our last 5 games. The home form, we've kind of, I wouldn't say put it to bed, but we've answered critics over the last couple of games about our home form, beating Chelsea, beating West Ham. It's the away form, which is worrying at the moment. 3 losses out of our last 3 away games in all competitions, as you said before. But Molineux is usually a happy hunting ground for us. Do you know the last time we lost at Molineux was?
Last time we lost at Molineux?
Long time ago now.
What, 2004?
2010.
2010.
1-0 loss in 2010. So we haven't lost to them at Molineux since they've come back up. It has been, like I said before, we usually do well at their place, and they were usually doing well at our place for a while. But we seem to have Wolves' number at Molineux since they've come up to the league. So hopefully that can play into our hands a little bit coming into this game. And like you say, that maybe the tactics and the style of play does play into our hands. When you're looking at the Wolves team, obviously you said they've got a really good talent in the centre of the park. Is there anyone else you're really worried about on that team?
So obviously Adama is just a jack in the box. You just never know. You kind of know what you're going to get, but you never know whether today's the day you're going to be able to stop it or not. You just never know with Adama. I do envisage him probably coming on as a sub, and that is something a bit to worry about. Obviously, I love their central midfielders. Matthias Cunha is an interesting one because I do think he's a good player, but I think they're playing him in a false 9 position, and he's struggling to adapt at the moment to the Premier League and struggling to adapt to that Wolves team. But once he does adapt, he definitely is one you have to watch out for because he's got a lot of potential, a lot of quality, Matthias Cunha. And things didn't really work out with him at Atletico Madrid, but I think he could definitely be someone.
Are they really working out for him here? He hasn't scored a goal yet.
I'm not saying they have worked out. I'm saying things didn't work out at Atletico and he's struggling to adapt at Wolves. But I do think he's a player who could definitely hurt us if he starts, if they get him right. I think if you bring on their lineup, like they've recently been playing Moutinho in a bit more advanced position. I know against Wolves, against Liverpool, they did that. But I think what they should be doing is playing Cunha there, and then maybe a striker ahead of him. Maybe you see a better, but it says he's a doubt there, so maybe he's not going to play. I really like Nunez. I really like Neves. I like Moutinho. I like Lemina as well. All 4 of them. I like all 4 of those centre midfielders. All 4 of them can really play. Lemina's a good ball carrier. Neves is a brilliant passer. Matthias Nunez is a bundle of energy, and Moutinho is a smooth operator. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to dominate in the centre, especially if we've only got those 2 there, and obviously you're going to have Emerson tucking in sometimes. But it's still, even with that, it's going to be very tough. And you just got. I remember the game at the Tottenham Stadium early in the season. The first half, they dominated Wolves, and it was those 3. It was those 3 really dominating the central midfield. We couldn't get the ball off them. Yeah. And then second half, we upped our energy levels, and we ended up getting a goal from a corner, and we ended up getting the victory. But it's all about riding the storm, and it's going to be even tougher to do that away at Molineux because the home crowd behind them, they'll be confident they can, having beaten Liverpool not so long ago. I know they lost to Bournemouth as well, but having beaten Liverpool, they'll be confident that they'll stick to that game plan and it'll work for them. And that's what I'm worried about, because we just got to make sure they don't have that confidence.
Yeah, when you're going to Molineux, well, not even Molineux, when you're playing Wolves, you just know what you're going to get. You're in for a bit of a dogfight. They've got fighters in that team, and our team need to be up for the fight because they definitely weren't up for the fight at Bramall Lane on Wednesday night. And with Coutinho, Romero and Emerson back in the frame, that gives you a lot more confidence, doesn't it, to be up for that fight?
Yeah, you'd hope so. I think every away game, the away games are so tough in this Premier League. It's so tough to get consistency. You saw Man City not long ago. They went 6 games, I think, without a win away from home. Away games, you have to be up for the fight. And it's no surprise that recently, you look at all our recent away wins, like 1-0 away at Fulham. I know we beat Palace 4-0. That was maybe one of the easier ones. But it's going to be more like the Fulham away game. It's like you have to make sure that I guess what I'm saying is it's not going to be pretty. We're not going to go to Wolves and play them off the park.
Say that again.
We're not going to go and play them off the park. I really think it's going to be another slog. It's going to be another difficult watch. But I think it has to be that, because if the game is too open, I think in a way that could benefit Wolves a lot. because they want the game to be like, they want us to come at them and then stretch the game. That's what they want. That's exactly what they did against Liverpool. Liverpool threw all the risk and then they absolutely destroyed them on the counter attack. And so Spurs have just got to be wary of that. What Bournemouth did was very different. They just invited Wolves onto them. They clogged up the central areas, made sure they weren't finding it easy to break through the lines. And then when they went forward, they just found a couple of moments of quality to break the deadlock. And then they shut up shop. And I think that is kind of the game plan if you're going to play this Wolves side under Lopetegui. Who are a very clever side. They know they know what they're doing. They're a smart team. So you just got to be wary of them and what they can bring.
And in terms of maybe who Spurs might put on the pitch on Saturday, surely it has to be an unchanged lineup from that Chelsea and West Ham game. Keep that winning formula. And if you go with the same kind of game plan that we had against Chelsea and we have against West Ham, that should play into our hands again.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. I think Emerson and Davis will go back to wing back. I think we'll have that back three again. I think it will be unchanged, and I think hopefully that will work. But what the big difference is in those displays that we played recently is that we're not making mistakes, we're not making stupid errors, and we've got to make sure that we're doing that again. But it's different when you're at home. I'm not saying it's easier, but when you're at home, you've got the home crowd behind you. You feel that confidence. When you're away from home, it's just a bit different. The feeling's a bit different. It's why it's a lot harder to get results away from home. So I'm just hoping that the back line that we have can stay strong. Hopefully Romero can be... I think they need to follow Romero's lead away in a bit, because I feel like without him having that proactive defensive nature about him, we just become too passive and we become too reactive in the back. And it feels as though like when Romero's in the team and he gets stuck in, the other players follow his lead a bit. And so that's going to be very important, having him back in the team, and I think the defenders doing that. But we just got to make sure that we're not making stupid mistakes when we have Neves, Moutinho and Nunes coming at us. We just got to make sure that if they're playing really clever through balls and they're looking for passes in behind, that we're not making mistakes that we have done in games of similar nature, which we have done. And we have to put to bed, it's our first Premier League away game since Leicester as well. We have to put that game to bed for sure, and we have to put our away form to bed, because it's not good enough right now how we're performing away from home. As much as at home we seem to be turning it around, it does. If you can't do the same thing away from home, that does tell me about a lack of mentality and mental strength, and that does worry me.
Fact of the matter is, in our last 3 Premier League away games, we've conceded 9 goals. That's nowhere near good enough.
Nope.
4 against Leicester, 4 against City, and 0. Yes. Oh,
8 goals.
0 against Fulham, 8 goals. So, I mean, that's nowhere near good enough. We can't be conceding 4 goals every other away game. It's absolutely disgraceful.
So we're due a clean sheet now, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I bloody well hope so. But when you're looking at the teams that we faced, maybe a similar level to Wolves away from home since the turn of the year, Crystal Palace and Fulham, we've done the job, haven't we?
Yeah, we've done the job.
Apart from Leicester, obviously. But when you're looking at the ones to watch that we've picked out for Wolves, we've got Ruben Neves and Sarabia, their January signing from PSG. Sarabia got his first goal. I haven't seen much of him play. Have you been impressed at all?
I like Sarabia as a player. He's obviously a Spanish international. I think he scored a goal at the World Cup. He's a tricky left winger. He's one of those players who technically really good. Physically, he can be bullied a bit, and I do think he's probably more suited to like Spanish football than he is to like the English game. But what he is good is he's a very good finisher. He's really good at shooting, cutting inside on his left foot, and getting shots on goal. He can be stifled, but if you allow him to get shooting opportunities, he can always hurt you, and he can get goals because he's a very good technical finisher. He's not one I'm overly concerned about from a defense. I'm not concerned he's going to like destroy our players in one-on-one situations, but I am more concerned that if we do switch off, he's got the ability to pick a moment and punish you. I thought he's been all right for Wolves, to be fair. I actually think he's been quite good for them since he's come in. I don't think he's been stellar, but I do think he's added a bit compared to what they had before. And I think that he's a good player. He is a good player. I don't think he's an incredible player, but he's good. He's a good, solid, European footballer. So you just got to be wary of him. You just got to make sure. I think putting Davis in there is probably the right choice. Just making sure that we're not conceding any stupid goals. We're not giving them anything easy. If they are going to score, it's going to be a difficult goal. It's going to have to be difficult. And I think that's the way to go. And stopping Sarabia will go a long way to that, I think.
Yeah, so on that side as well, I know I said maybe we should go unchanged, but there's still a big question mark over who plays on that left-hand side at number 10, whether it be Richarlison, Heung-min Son, even Dan Juma should be in the conversation at the moment. I mean, look, Richarlison, as much as we've been kind of laying into him for not scoring, assisting, contributing, he is contributing in terms of the last 2 home games with his aggression, tiring out the opposition. Sonny, he's done fairly well off the bench, but when starting hasn't been doing well. So is it just persisting with Richarlison at the moment?
Yeah, either you give Dan Juma potentially a run out, or I think you stick with Richarlison, in my opinion. I don't think Son... First of all, Son already started in midweek and played 90 minutes. So if there's any fatigue issues, then there's no point risking him from the start against Wolves, in my opinion. And then again as well, you can bring him on from the bench. Things are not going right. I would probably just stick with Richarlison for now. I understand people want more from him, but I do think this could be a good game for him. I'm not saying he's definitely going to score, but I do think what he will do is make things difficult for Wolves. He'll make sure that they're not getting an easy ride, especially with his tracking back. And I do think he's a threat, especially from set pieces, aerially. These kind of moments we're going to need against Wolves. So I think his physicality will help. They've got Semedo, charging down that right-hand side, and I'm not a massive fan of Semedo, but what he does bring is energy, speed, physicality on the right-hand side. And he's gonna, if Son's in the team, he's gonna make Son do a lot of running going backwards. So you might as well waste that energy on Richarlison tracking back, and then when Son can come on, and then Semedo might find it hard to deal with Sonny if he's got tiring legs. So I would carry on Richarlison as much as we want more from him. I think that's the way to go for now, and I think it's been working so far. In terms of results, him on the left,
in the league anyway.
Games. In the league, I know he played up front, so it was a bit different. But I think him starting on the left-hand side, doing that dog work, and Son coming on, I think he's been working. So I'd carry on for now.
In terms of the league table now, Spurs sit in 4th, 4 points above Newcastle in 5th. Newcastle play Man City this weekend. Liverpool play Manchester United this weekend. We're 4 points behind Man United. It's so vital to get that 3 points this weekend. I mean, if we don't get that 3 points, we're going to be sitting here on Sunday being like, oh, another missed opportunity once again.
Definitely. And we have to fight for these 3 points. We're going to have to put 2 for now into it. And considering we've got a massive game against Milan on Wednesday, most people, if you ask them what's the most important game, they would say the Milan game. So... it's going to be a lot. I don't see Spurs resting any players on Saturday, but it's going to also, we're going to have to put a big effort on Saturday, and then obviously you're going to have to be a big effort on Wednesday for the Milan game. So it is a big game, and obviously it would be a massive missed opportunity if we don't win. But we do have that, like, if we do lose on Saturday and then win on Wednesday, people will probably quickly forget it. So we need to make sure we leave ourselves in the best position possible on Saturday by fighting for those points. But I'm just concerned. I am concerned away from home in this kind of game when I'm just concerned we'll have half an eye on the Milan game on Wednesday. Not from a selection point of view, but just naturally, like the player's mind. And that's what worries me a bit. Like,
where were the players' minds on Wednesday night? Was it on this game or Milan?
The players' minds on Wednesday night. The players' minds were.
They weren't at Bramall Lane, I'll tell you that.
The players' minds were, this management aren't really bothered about this cup because they're resting all these players probably, and they didn't see it as like, we'll probably just turn up and win because they're a championship team and they've made 8 changes and our mind wasn't at it. But I just feel like the extra effort we're going to need to put in to win this game. I'm not saying it's not going to be there, but I am a bit concerned it won't be there. Because we've got such a big game going on Wednesday.
And we can't let this bad feeling set in and fester in again, because there was starting to be a good feeling around the place before that Sheffield United game, and obviously Sheffield United happened. Biggest game probably for the majority of fans this season, that game, and it was a complete disaster class. I mean, everything and anything about that performance was terribly wrong. And we just need a massive response. The fans need it, the players need it, the club need it. And if we get that massive response, it could spur us on to go and beat Milan. But I fear that if we have another embarrassing defeat and don't show up, that could kind of carry itself into that Milan game.
I got a question for you. I've been seeing like a growing sense of this, like recently, especially on our WhatsApp group and maybe on social media. After going out of the FA Cup on Wednesday, do you think people are starting to, like, in a way, care less about top four? Because we got top four already last season. Things didn't really push on after, we were told getting into the top four was going to really help us push on and wherever improve where we're at. And now after going out of I think before Wednesday, like, if you look at the overall picture of the season, it's like, okay, still in the FA Cup, still in the Champions League, and in the top four. It's like, I think people were looking at that as a good overall picture, and I was as well, because not only are we still in the top four, but we've still got two avenues of potentially winning a trophy still open at the moment. But one of them just gone, and the way it went so easily, like we went without a fight, basically. And now it's like, okay, it's now top four Champions League. Obviously, it's still the two biggest things, but I'm getting the sense like a lot of fans are like looking at it now, and it's like, do I really care if we're getting top four, if this is how we're going to treat the cup competitions? Like, if you're getting in the top four, but you're also having a serious run at the cup and maybe having a chance of winning it, then it puts in a different perspective. But I feel like there's a lot of fans who just are getting, like, who are not caring as much about top four anymore since going out the cup in a weird way.
Yeah, it's not even a weird way, to be honest. I think it's absolutely spot on. I think a lot of fans are getting disillusioned with it, and I don't think you can blame them, to be honest, because what have we heard? The noise coming out of this club consistently. Top four will be a game changer. It will help us compete. It will do this. It will do that. And it hasn't really enabled us to do anything, getting top four. I mean, we were the ones getting Champions League over Arsenal last year. They're the ones fighting for a title this year while we're still in a top four battle. We haven't... Basically, from this time last year till now, it's the same club. Like, yeah, fine, we've got maybe a few more players in through the door, but we've got, within a 3 points difference to where we were last year, in the same position in the league, fighting for the exact same positions in the league, out the FA Cup in the exact same rounds. I mean, it's just a carbon copy, really, of last season.
But if you're, like, getting top four should be a building block so that you can obviously improve the team and put yourselves in a position to start, like, competing for trophies and winning trophies on a consistent basis. That's what top four should be. Top four shouldn't be the end goal for every season, and everything should be thrown by the wayside so that you can get that goal. So I can understand partly last season, okay, we went out the FA Cup early, went out the League Cup early. I wasn't happy about it, but at least, okay, we did it because it's Conte's first season. He's only been there 6 months and he's putting everything into just getting that Champions League spot. But then this season, I don't have that same feeling because we did it last season. We got that top four. Now that should be a building block, so we have that solid base, so we can actually compete for these, compete for an FA Cup and compete for a League Cup, and while also getting top four alongside that. But to throw the FA Cup like we did on Wednesday for the sake of getting back into that top four that we did last season, it's like, what's the point? A lot of fans are getting that feeling. It's like, is this what it's just going to be every season? Like, throwing these cup competitions and chances of glory just so we can get back into the top four just for extra revenue when it's not allowing us to push on.
Let's be honest, though, right? Let's be honest. The club has always told us that the top four is a building block. When has it ever been a building block? Like, for us, when have we ever got in top four then be like, all right, we're here now, let's stamp our authority here? I know we did finish top four consecutively, and we had a few half-assed title challenges and stuff like that, but that was more to do with the players that we already had and Pochettino and the vibe that we had around the club. It was nothing to do with actually using top four as a building block and actually stamping our authority and being like, all right, we can get our targets through the door. We can really push on as a football club. We've never done that through top four. It's always been used as just extra revenue to bring in through the club, and that's it. I mean, we've never used it as a building block ever. So that's why fans are getting disillusioned with this top four thing. It's like, for me this season, if we finish top four and don't win anything, which looks like it again, I'm just going to be like, yeah, all right, we finished top four again. Yeah, great to have Champions League football back next year, but I'm not going to have a sense of being like so proud of this football club maybe that I had at the end of last season. If we won the FA Cup and got top four, then I'd sit here and be like, all right, credit to you guys. You had a really good season.
That'd be our best ever Premier League season.
Yeah. So I'll be super happy with top four in a cup. Would I be happy with a cup and no top four? Probably not. I think I want both. I want both as a minimum, as absolute minimum. And as much as getting top 4 is great, I don't think it means as much as it used to because of the way the club treats it and the way that we never kick on after getting that top 4. So it's kind of meaningless at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, a lot depends, obviously, what happens in the Champions League. We're obviously 1-0 down to Milan at the moment, and we have to obviously turn it around next leg and try and keep ourselves in that competition. But if we do go out to Milan on Wednesday, and even if we win on Saturday, if we do go out to Milan on Wednesday, I think you're going to see a lot of disillusionment from now to the end of the season because we're fighting to basically match what we did last season. That will be the aim, and that would be quite disappointing, considering we were just like in 2 cups a few couple days ago, and then we could be out of them within a week, and that would be the most disappointing thing. But it's obviously getting to the top 4 gets you nights like Wednesday night and against AC Milan and things like that, and that's obviously we really look forward to them. But if we're going to bow out on the last 16, and then all you're doing is fighting for another chance to be in the last 16, it's like that's not enough for us. We want top 4 to just be the base. It's not the total aim, and that's the worry. And I do understand a lot of fans getting a bit disillusioned when they're just looking for top 4. I honestly think if we go out on Wednesday, I do see a lot of fans checking out a bit from now to the end of the season, and that's what I'm worried about.
I think a lot of fans have checked out already, to be honest.
think whilst we're still in the Champions League, they're still a little bit.
Yeah, but even though like a lot of fans, even the fans that are feeling like that, no one believes that we can go far in the Champions League.
You don't have to believe it, but you're still in it. You're still in it, exactly. And as long as you're in it, that gives you hope. And you're going to be super interested in that on Wednesday night. It's going to be a massive game. You're going to be glued to the screen. But I feel like if we do go out and all of a sudden it's just from now to the season, try and get into that top 4, I don't see that same level of energy you're going to see on Wednesday night in the remaining games. And that's what I'm worried about.
I agree.
Whereas if we do stay in the Champions League, as long as we got the Champions League, you're still in it. I feel like there will be proper engagement even in the league games because I feel like that because you can buy into the season where you're chasing top 4 and you're still within a chance of getting that trophy. But once that trophy chance is gone completely, then I worry what the season will turn into a bit. I also feel like the players might I don't know. I just worry. I do worry a bit.
Who's a better set of players that year we got to the Champions League final or this set of players now? Must be that year. I mean, that year in the league we were terrible, weren't we?
We were terrible in the second. Yeah, we were not great for the majority of the season. To be honest, that season is very similar in a way to this season. Apart from like the history of 5 years of Pochettino. If you just take that season and this season in isolation, it's a team that's pretty much been scraping results all season, just about getting over the line in a lot of results, and somehow find themselves in the top 4, even though you could argue their play maybe hasn't deserved it. They've gone out the domestic cups fairly early, and it's like we scraped into the group stages, past the group stages in both times, and no one gives us a hope of actually going all the way in the Champions League in either season. So you never know. You never know what can happen. The Champions League, we got to the Champions League final, Winks and Sissoko as our central midfield partnership. You just never know. And Kane was also injured for pretty much the whole knockout stages. He was injured.
Wasn't one of Jan and Toby injured for a long stretch of it as well?
I think Toby might have been out for a lot of it. Or maybe was it Jan? Because I know Jan played at Dortmund, played that left back performance, didn't he? Maybe he was Jan out? I can't remember. I know Sissoko as well was out for a couple of knockouts because Wanyama had to play, and then Son also was out for one of the Ajax legs. So we had a lot of.
We had to put Danny Rose at centre mid at some point.
We had a lot of circumstances during that journey, and we somehow got through. So you never know what's possible in the Champions League. Especially, we still have a lot of players from that run and who know how to do it, I guess. But I think once that opportunity leaves us and once we're out the Champions League, I do see a lot of disinterest seeping in. That's what I'm just worried about that.
Well, let's hope we can get that 3 points this weekend and qualify into the quarterfinals of the Champions League next week. But what is your score prediction before we go on to the guests?
going to try and be positive. I do think we're going to go unchanged. I think we're going to scrape it. I'm just hoping that we can. I'm hoping Wolves can be a bit profligate like they've been in recent weeks, and they'll miss the chances that they do have, and then hopefully we can punish them with a few quality chances of our own, maybe from a set piece or something. So I'm gonna go 2-0.
2-0. Yeah, I picked 1-0 for this game. I think that it's going to be a really tight game. Not many chances in the game, as we've seen in many Spurs games over the past couple of weeks. And I think with Romero back in there, with Emerson back in there, we will be a lot more defensively solid. And I'm hoping that can play into our hands. And I don't think we're going to go for Wolves as well, like you say. So that should hopefully play into our hands as well. So I'm going to go for Spurs to win by the odd goal, 1-0 to Spurs, and Harry Kane will score it. So that is our score predictions. That's our match preview. Let me know in the comments section below what your score prediction is, and let's go on to our guests, starting off with Brian. Yes, Brian.
Oh, he's on mute.
Afternoon, brothers. How are you?
Afternoon.
Don't worry, Brian. You've only been coming on here for 3 years.
I know. Do you know what? I was just speaking to my dad, so I was like, yeah, let's put that on mute just in case I come on. And I forgot to unmute it. But I just want to say, boys, before we get into Wolves, what you were just speaking about regarding top four and the FA Cup and has it lost, I thought that section you just did was absolutely fantastic. And the way you're right, and the way you look at it, I think what's got people is obviously for the Champions League to get further, we've had to beat Eintracht Frankfurt, or play them at least, the Europa League winners, here, Marseille and Sporting Lisbon, now the mighty Milan, and obviously the further and further you go on, you've just got the creme de la creme of Europe. But for the FA Cup, especially this year, we've had Portsmouth, Preston, Sheffield United, and would have been Blackburn. I can't remember an easier route to a semi-final we've had in such a long time, and we've blown it. So what you were saying to me when you started it off, you're bang on the money, mate. It was a brilliant section.
What do you agree with the fact that you feel like the going out the FA Cup is maybe might be leading to a bit of disinterest in this season?
I think it has, because you've got to remember with the FA Cup, no matter how long you always think we've got a chance. You always think, do you know what, if the draw works out in our favour, we've got the chance, we can do it, and what this cup means to us. And we had it the easy way. Like Ben was saying, this top four, we were told we were going to build, we were going to grow, we were going to. This is the springboard to greater things. And like Ben said, we were 3 points better than we were last season. Same position, fighting for the same things. We had the investment. And we're still doing the same shit. So what's it giving us apart from hearing that Champions League music and getting to sing "Oh What a Night," which we won't be next season because they'll be in it.
Yeah, we'll just have to relay it to Chelsea this time instead of Arsenal.
Yeah, well, they won't be playing Thursday nights either, so I don't know what we're saying. So, but yeah, no, I think it was a really, really, really good piece you just did there.
Cheers, mate. What are you feeling about this game this weekend? How do you look at Wolves maybe since Lopetegui has come in?
So, as KPV will always say, the players that have played for both clubs and say it's
KPV,
the derby. Well,
we can't mention KPV's there. I got a bone to pick with KPV when he comes on.
I know exactly what bone you've got to pick with KPV as well, and I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing that, but what I will say is exactly. But it's the Spurs YouTube channel Wolves Fee derby today, isn't it? So or tomorrow, should we say?
Today, to be fair.
Oh, okay. So, mate, listen. I heard you at the beginning when you were talking about it. They haven't been the same since like the early part of Nuno when they came up, but I do think Lopetegui is doing some good things with them. I think this would have been a completely different match and a lot more comfortable if it was the I can't remember his name before. But I think he's got them doing bits. And Wolves, as we saw with Liverpool on their day, can turn up, especially at home. It's been a tough game for us. There's been some 2-2s, 3-2s, that last minute winner from Jan. This never has been an easy game, really, has it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always a tough game playing Wolves, whether it's home or away. But with the tactics that they play and the tactics that we play, it's not going to be the most exciting game of football, put it that way. But in terms of team lineup, you want to see the same lineup as we saw against West Ham and Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, I'm exactly the same as Simeon. If there is to be a change, maybe Danjuma for Richarlison. But I again am with Simeon here, where we've all been saying that he needs a run of form and a run of games to be judged on. And if we take him out now, and it's just like, well, we haven't given him the run. How can we judge? We all know that he has been way below par in the goal scoring and getting involved in that department. So I think again, this game is another game where it is going to be a physical battle. So if you look at it, I think he certainly outweighs Son on the physicality side. Dan Jura, I think, is a stockier player, but we don't know what he's like physically. So that would be the only change. You shouldn't be changing a winning team, especially in the league.
There's no chance we have one eye on Milan going into this game, Brian, do you think?
I think we could, mate. I think we could, but I just don't know how you gauge it. I mean, if we, like you said, with this, what we've got to look at is, are we in a good chance going out to Milan? We're losing 1-0, so you would want to say there's a bigger chance that we're going out than we're going in. We could turn it round, but I mean, as it stands right now, obviously Milan are in the ascendancy. And like you said, with the fixtures around us tomorrow or the weekend with Newcastle, Man City and Man U, Liverpool, these 3 points I think are more vital. Yeah. If the club want to sustain it so we are top 4 again next year, I think this game is bigger than Milan because of the fixtures around us. Only because of what it represents to the club, not the actual gravitas of the game. The Milan one obviously outshines that. But I think this game, Simeon, you're looking at, like you said, these 2 fixtures that are around us. All eyes have to be on this and try to take the points further away from our competitors for that full spot.
Brian, we spoke about how, a lot of fans may be becoming a bit disinterested once going out the FA Cup with that chance of a trophy going, and that's what we all really want. If we do exit Milan on Wednesday, do you see a lot of apathy between Spurs fans from now to the end of the season, whether we get top 4 or not, or do you still think a lot of everyone's going to be super geared towards getting top 4?
Do you know what, Simeon? Do you know what? You know exactly how much work I do and the others do for how we feel about the board. And every single time something fucks up or something goes wrong, and we think, okay, this is it this time. Here we go. And then we hear all the noise on Twitter, in the chats and everything. We think, okay, here we go. Let's do it. It don't happen. It may happen social media and in WhatsApp groups and on chats, but fans that are prepared to do something about it, I think it'll just be the same. I think, and it kills me to say it. It kills me to say it because whilst we've got top 4, we can talk about what might happen and what we might get and what we might do and where we might be heading, rather than where we are going, where we are heading, what we are doing. So that's the big problem.
All right, Brian, what's the score prediction?
Well, you both said you're going to go very positive. You went for your results. I'm going to go very positive with a 1-1.
1-1. Oh, so positive, Brian.
It made that, believe me, I could have been saying a lot worse. I just think, like you said, this game, it's going to be, let's face it, it's not going to be the greatest spectacle. I think, Simeon, you're staying at home this time, aren't you? You're doing the watch-along.
Correct.
I think you're going to be the luck. I think come the drive home, you might be happier that you're just driving home from the studio as opposed to from Birmingham. With the performance, but yeah, I like I said, I'm not coming on here anymore and just going, yeah, now's a good time to play him. Yeah, we're going to do it now. No, I'm not doing that anymore. So I think we're going to get past 1-1.
All right, Brian. Thanks for coming on.
All
mate.
right, brothers. Always a pleasure. Everyone, have a wonderful weekend. I will speak to you all on the fan show, and as always, Levy out.
Six packs, fingers, Daigle.
Stellini's
once again.
Stellini's doing his presser right now. He said after the defeat on Wednesday, he said maybe the players now know a different face of me and not just Antonio. I was very disappointed after Wednesday.
He must have laid in. I hope he laid into them because they needed
he did.
That.
He seemed absolutely fuming, to be fair, after the game for some of the stuff he said. But anyway, so more quotes as they come from Stellini, who's currently doing his presser.
All right, look who we have next. It's Mr. KPV.
Hello, boys.
How you doing, KPV? You all right?
I've got a bone to pick with you, Ben. What are you going to say, huh?
Oh,
what is it?
Here we go.
You want to know what it is?
No, don't say
What
it.
do you want, kid?
You want me to tell you?
Go ahead and try, mate. What?
You sure?
I want to hear it, but don't say anything shit. Well, you know what's going to happen, mate? Because I still want my rematch, Ben. I want my
KPV,
rematch.
please
What?
tell me what's your WhatsApp profile picture?
I knew you were going to bring that shit up. Stop it, Ben.
What is
Stop
it?
it. I ain't talking, okay? I'm not in the mood, mate. So just move on, please.
He doesn't want to say. He doesn't want to say.
All right, we'll move on. KPV,
Because
what's your?
You're
Go
the
on.
one that sung the song, so less of that. Anyway, I'm not going to mention because Brian Daigle mentioned it yesterday. I heard it. So since Brian mentioned it, I'm not because we're not allowed. So we'll move on to the game. But anyway, before we talk about tomorrow's game, Wednesday, like I've been saying it, do not change a winning team. And he goes ahead and does that. Stellini, like, we've not lost the game while he's been covering for Conte, and then he goes and does that. Seriously, man. The Italian job, like, supposed to be better, boys, but you made the wrong choice going there. Like, we could have had Blackburn at home if it wasn't for that silly performance, and I'm just done, man. Like, it's time for Kane and Son to leave. I'm sorry, but it's time. They need to go, man. We need at least some amount of money to replace both of them. Look what Liverpool did. They replaced Torres with Andy Carroll and Luis Suarez. 35 million. Like, you don't need at least 3 players to replace Kane. Like 2, not bad, but 3, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, shit performance. And I want to say happy birthday to Toby, Expressions, and Poch and Harry Redknapp for yesterday.
Oh, getting them all in, Kyle.
Yeah, like, we didn't wish them all a happy birthday, but Harry Redknapp is now, what, 74, is he?
Tell me,
Yeah,
Carl.
you know better than me. Carl,
Well,
Carl, what do
yeah,
you think the
mate.
score's going to be, mate?
Well, we've won at Wolves a couple of times, like 18-19 season, I believe we won 3-2. Kane, Lamella, and Lucas, I believe. And we all know Foyth gave away 2 penalties on his debut. So, but the last time we lost twice was when Crouch scored that goal Lieti had in 2010. 9-10 season, they done a double over us. But that was the last time we lost twice. But we're looking to do the double over Wolves since 2003-4. So I want the score's going to be, I want a clean sheet. Like, when Kane has scored the opening goal, we've gone on to win without conceding. So long may it continue. And yeah, so I'm going 3-0.
3-0. Big up,
I've gone,
KPV.
and yeah, so I've gone a bit better than you two. Tim's gone 2, Ben's gone 1, and I see Mr. Daigle's gone 1-all. Like, no draws, please. No thanks. I want to win. Then that would be, what, 5 Premier League wins? But yeah, so a win tomorrow, then Wednesday. So then we have probably the better one in than the other teams around us. So if we can win tomorrow, that'll be what, 9 points Premier League.
Yeah, look, it's a
West
massive,
Ham,
massive game
Chelsea,
this
Wolves.
weekend just because of the teams that are playing around us and the
Oh.
stage of the season. But
Fair play
KPV,
to you, mate. I'll give you the benefit of doubt.
thanks for coming
I
on
can
today,
agree.
my friend.
But
Nice one, Carl.
anyway,
Just
I'm off to
Carl,
let the
just
dogs
change your
out.
WhatsApp. All I'm going to say is just change your WhatsApp profile pic. Just change it. I'm not going to say what it is. Just change it.
I haven't got your number though, Sim. You're not in the WhatsApp group.
Well, what
Sim's
WhatsApp
got
group?
eyes and ears everywhere.
Don't worry, Carl. I can see everything going on.
Oh, shut up, you jabronis. It
change
doesn't
it,
matter
mate.
what my profile picture is.
It does. It
Like,
does. It matters.
anyway,
Just change it. Just change it.
No, it doesn't, man.
Change it, bro.
The only
It
one I'm going to
burns-
change is if
it
you bring
burns
back some
my
FIFA
eyes.
content, boys.
It burns my
Boy.
eyes seeing that. It
Boy.
burns my eyes.
Oi, you two jabronis. I'll only change it if you bring back some FIFA content. Until then, it ain't
If
getting
we'll bring
changed.
back one episode, just if you change it, we'll bring back an episode. We've just proof.
Well, I haven't seen one since before the end of last season, so we're getting tired of this, boys. You promised us, but we haven't seen one. So everyone, tell these two to bring back some FIFA content, FIFA 23, career mode. So I'm only going to change it in just a few minutes. If you
Good.
bring maybe
Change it.
Well,
Hashtag
Sim,
KPV change.
that's not my name, mate, because it's a different name, and I'm going to change my name. So I'm off to listen to Who Let the Dogs Out, and Who Let the Dogs Out? Ashley did. I'm all. I'll see you all next week. Peace.
I'm sure he's talking about Ashmatic. All right, nice.
All right, you better change your profile picture, KPV. I'm not having that. I am not having that profile picture. But let's bring on our next guest, and it is the Jorical. Yes, Jory, how you doing, my friend? How are you?
I'm okay. I just wanted to come on, and I echo Brian. I thought you did a pretty good job there of talking about this situation, which I'm now going to call the Tottenham roundabout.
Yeah.
So the Tottenham roundabout is that we're in the Premier League, and we're competing in the Premier League for what? To win the Premier League, I guess, right? That's why you compete.
You're supposed to be, supposedly.
No,
Yeah.
we're competing to finish fourth in the Premier League. That's what we're doing.
Okay, so we're competing to finish fourth. All right, so we get fourth. Why do we want to get fourth?
Supposedly
right?
more money,
fill
yeah.
the pockets of the hierarchy.
Exactly. So we got, but now we're talking as fans. So okay, we rejoice. We get fourth. We get to take part in this premier competition of Europe, which is the Champions League. We get to get nice, beautiful music played in the stadium, and some big headliner teams come to our club. We play these teams. Why do we play them? For the pleasure of playing them, or
You're supposed to try and beat them. You want to beat the best.
Exactly, yeah. So we're trying to win the Champions League, right?
Supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly. Or what? Because this is exactly the roundabout. And I think a lot of fans, like you pointed out, are now understanding that no, that's actually not what we're doing. We're trying to maximize revenue constantly. And when we get Champions League, it doesn't actually mean that we up our ambition and buy better and more expensive, or more, not even more expensive, but more like elite, more.
There's a lot of noise in the background.
Is that Jory or someone else?
It's not me. It's asthmatic.
He's turning up now. All right, go on.
Yeah. So what we're realizing is that, and what I've known for a while now, is that it's not only that we're not serious about competing and that we're not taking risks in order to have a chance of winning. It's detrimental to what the board wants to do. That's the problem. I think what you see there in the fifth round is not only that it doesn't matter, it's actually the players know that Levy actually wants them out of the competition. He knows that he doesn't want to risk the fourth spot and Champions League games for a chance of a trophy that's not giving any money. So the sooner we can exit that competition, the better in Levy's mind, because that means that we won't get injuries, won't have tired players. It means that we have a chance of going the furthest in the Champions League, and we all know how much money each round generates to get beyond. So that's our game. Our game is to get into the revenue slot, which is one of the 4 slots, and then to get as much revenue as we can in the Champions League. There's
Case in point, Jose Mourinho getting sacked 6 days before a cup final when we still had a very outside chance of finishing in the top 4.
Exactly. And what we've heard now, or I heard through the grapevine, was that actually one of the triggering points for the firing was because he wanted to play a secondary team in the league and have his full strength team for the final. Of course, which any footballing person in the world would do that.
I know that for a fact that was true, Jory. I know it for a fact.
Yes. I mean, my rumors usually come from you, Sim, or Ben. So, maybe
let me ask you this: on that discussion, Jory. Obviously, having exited the FA Cup on Wednesday, if we do exit, whatever the result is on Saturday, and whatever good position we are for top 4, if we do once we do exit the Champions League, is that your interest in this season kind of done, or are you still very invested in whether we do get top 4?
No, but I mean, we're all fans and all of that, so we can't disagree. And we're not like, you can say all football fans are suckers and all of that, but we're actually real. I would almost describe us as victims of a Ponzi scheme here, because there is no intention. There's actually an anti-intention of competing in terms of trophies, because to compete for anything, especially these bigger titles, the base level you need to show up with is very, very high level goalkeeping and defense. I'm not going to say world class or elite, because luck can bring you through some things for sure, as our own final kind of showed as well, but I don't think, so for me, it's kind of like, what are we, what's the exercise here? What is it? Because I know without a board, and it's not only Tottenham, but any club in the world, without a board that has some intention of competing, is willing to put some emphasis and risk on that, we won't get through. The only chance is really miracles. And let's say we win something as a miracle, well, like a Champions League. Let's say we win the Champions League as a miracle. Of course, I'm going to be happy, but I'm still going to be pissed and not too happy, actually, because I know it's for no fault of ours. We didn't do what we needed to do to deserve that win. We simply just got lucky. So what glory is that? To win a trophy on the base of some absolutely out of this world odds against us luck, so of course I enjoy seeing us win still and all of that, and I do believe any play, even our worst kind of players, can find the spirit to fight for the football, but also understand and know that they're there to do the job, to fill out the positions, to look the part, and basically be a part of this con that where we the fans are the victims of, And this is also the reason why we pay such beautiful wages for these high level managers, and and they should be a little bit ashamed of it. I mean, I can see Mourinho having no scruples with him, but Conte should really have a big problem, and I'm disappointed in Conte for not having ripped it all apart already, so but sorry, Sim, what was your original question again?
My question was, once we exit the Champions League, are you going to be more disinterested in this season, or is it you going to still have that same kind of level of interest to see if we get top 4? Because I'm worried once we exit the CL, I feel like a lot of fans might start disengaging in the season.
I think a lot of fans have already disengaged, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm there, guys, to be honest. I will still watch the games. I'm still very much following everything, but it's kind of more like how can I say? Like, I'm watching the games because I love watching our players.
You're going through the
you know.
motions.
Yeah, but I also love seeing the moments from the players. I still believe, like I really don't blame them in that sense, especially not when they turn up and do their thing, you know. And I know that they will have the green light from Daniel Levy to do that in the Champions League. So I know they will definitely be giving their all there, you know. And I know also Conte will also want to give his all and so on, and also for the league, you know. So I will be following on that premise, but I will be also following it knowing, like this is my conviction that there is no intention to do anything with these spots. You know, there is no intention of risking this steady, you know, into the Champions League revenue and having, like, you know, the only reason we're talking about extensions and pay rise for Dyer and Ben Davis is because it's working for Daniel Levy. This facade of a top competing club is kind of working, and it's not working for me and you guys, for example. It's certainly not working for Brian Daigle and most of the people that call in here, but it's working for most of the people that once in a while turn up in the stadium, and the rest of the time, you know, catch a game here and there and so on. And this is what, you know, and now I switch off. You won't switch off. I know that, guys. I already asked you, Ben, on the Irish Hotspur, you know, with a super chat there. I appreciate the answer. Very good answer, you know. And you're completely steeped in it, and you live in it, and you're local to that area. So there's no getting away from it from you guys. Whereas I'm in Iceland, and in that sense, I'm privileged. If I turn it off, it's off. You know, it's not really. Yeah, I'll get some banter from my Arsenal friends and stuff like that. But apart from that, that's all. You know, it's out of my world. You know, which is something I've done before in my life, actually. So simply to regain some control of the mood in the week. You know, which. I think we all know that. But I would say for this season, it's more about, for me, the most interesting part is to see, is Conte gonna launch a final, you know, fight for having some say in this club, or is he simply gonna peter out and go out? You know, what I was so happy about seeing from the last couple of games, you know, after Leicester and stuff like that, was that the players were still fighting for Conte, you know, and people have been talking about this Stellini bounce, you know. Maybe it is, you know, a little bit of a variation, you know, and the fact that Conte has been down over personal issues and probably club issues, and then you get a fresh guy in, and that helps the guys, you know, because we see how actually fragile and easily affected our players are, you know. So, but yeah, for me, the main thing is just to see this backroom part of the thing. You know, once we go out of the Champions League, there's only one game I'm following. That's how the backroom stuff is going to go. You know, yeah. Are we
Johnny,
going to keep?
How far do you think we are away from maybe you know, advancing over that top four, maybe third, second, somewhere like that? How far do you think we are away?
I mean, I think I think we're 4 players away from being able to say that we gave it a real shot of winning the league. I think that's how far we're away from it, to be honest. That's the minimum. That's the minimum. I would like to see more, for sure. It would be a better shot at it. But I think if Conte is all in and he gets all of his coaching staff on board, and we get around about 4, like I said 2 new center backs, a new left wing back, and a cam.
Udogie's coming in. Would you consider him as the new left wing back?
He would be, yeah, but I would want an additional one to him, you know, an experienced one. because I like Perisic I don't want him beyond this season, to be honest. I mean, I'm not fuming about him or anything. It's just like we don't want to be like on his. He's clearly on his last years in football, and the Premier League is the most difficult league, So I would not want to see another season with him. Would see somebody a Dotian and then somebody else, a real Cam, not a maybe not like, even though I have I think Sanioli, for example, would be probably a pretty good signing, but that's too much of a if and a but in terms of going for the league. I think if we got some like an Ericsson, like that's the other part. Why didn't we get Ericsson? That's because Levy didn't want to face everything that Ericsson brings with him. What does Ericsson goes to United and transform a team that looked like it was in even more disarray than our team, and win silverware, once again. So how many Spurs players do we have to watch go from our club, and the next opportunity they have silverware in their hands?
Even Nuno won a trophy after leaving us.
Yeah, I mean, how and this is like, for me, the biggest problem really is like, because we cannot, the more disruption there is in the fan base, the more actually the casual or the Levianers actually get the upper hand in this, and the more you will constantly see more crazy fans like ourselves, legacy fans, disengaging, because the corporate commercial part of the club is so obvious for everyone to see, and every competition, every season we go through, the more blatant it becomes, and yeah, that's the problem. But I would say in terms of that, once again, going back to your question, Sim, if I see Conte fighting, I don't need to win any particular number of games. I don't need to see anything specific in terms of results. If I see the Conte fighting and the players fighting for Conte, then I'm okay with it, and then I'll stick around emotionally to see what's going to happen in the summer, because then I feel like the summer is going to be the nuclear explosion, or we do our part, our responsibility, and back Levy in a corner, or even better, get him the fuck out of the club. That would be even better, But at least back him in a corner where he has to choose between his life in Tottenham or backing Conte. For me, that's the main competition, Sim, that I'm watching.
Yeah, look, if Conte ends up staying beyond this season, I think that for me it would signal intent from the club, and it would say to me that the club is going in the right direction, because I don't think Conte would stay beyond this year if that wasn't the case. But go on.
I would say otherwise. I do think that the Italians in general could be playing kind of a hostile takeover type game, and it could also mean that Conte feels he has the upper hand in terms of it, and that's only if the fans are completely backing him, and I was happy to at least hear the fans sing Antonio, up north, so I'm happy, and like, for me that says it all, when we listen to these away fans who are by far the most dedicated, the most clued in, and so on. I think that it's pretty. The majority is pretty clear on what needs to be fixed in this club, So, but yeah, I think it could be what you say, that the club is actually stepping up and giving it a little bit of a go, at least for the summer, and then or it could be that Conte fancies himself being able to kind of maneuver, basically putting Levy on the spot. As Kane did so beautifully when he said that if the club does the right things, I might want to stay around. But if Kane is leaving now, I ask the general fan base, if Kane is leaving now, what Kane, nobody knows what's going on in the club like Kane does. So what does that tell us? If Kane is leaving, it tells us Levy is not doing it, the board is not doing it, and so what's our reaction gonna be?
Yeah.
I
think if Conte stays, I do believe there's a big chance of Kane staying as well.
I think those two things go together. I agree.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
But if this season didn't go, I mean, we've had a lot of unlucky things to happen to us this season in terms of a lot of injuries throughout the whole season. We haven't had a settled squad. Ventroni obviously passing away. 2 other of Conte's close friends passing away. Conte himself having emergency surgery. If all these things didn't go against us this year, I mean, do you not think there would be a lot more positive outlook on this season?
For sure, but I always kind of feel there's two ways of looking at it. We still have to contend with this board and Levy. And for me, like, I'm convinced you cannot win anything unless it's absolutely miraculous luck, unless your board has decided that they're going to give it a shot. And I am, and saying that, I've seen so much evidence. Not only me, everybody's seen more than enough evidence to understand that our board's intention is actually not to compete in these minor cups, minor in terms of revenue, and not to risk anything in terms of winning the league, or risk anything for that matter in terms of winning Champions League, like a serious bit. They're willing maybe to give it a shot in terms of getting far into the Champions League and maybe have some luck with the others or whatever, but they're not willing to just take that, like basically handing Conte the keys and say, okay, do what you need to do and we'll back you. They're not willing to do that, and that was the hope when Paratici came in, was that Levy would basically be front of shop, and everything that's football connected would be Paratici. But I mean, there's no difference really, except that our recruitment has been a little bit better because Paratici is not doing the work, but the dealings are still awful and so on. So and the commitment is nothing. So. And I think, to be honest, I don't think there was any. I think we got Conte in because Levy was scared shitless after that Man United game, and simply offered him anything he wanted in terms of money, because there's no complaining there. He's willing to spend on the manager's wages. There's no problem with that. And to simply create the illusion that Tottenham is serious about competing, And I think Conte comes in being serious about competing, but then, the same as Mourinho and so on. Look at Mourinho now. Look at Roma. Roma was a mess.
Yeah. It's absolutely spot
everybody's on. Saying everybody's talking about it, and that's another thing that absolutely gets me fuming. Everybody's talking about these hipster managers and stuff like that. Klopp is a genius, but look at his season and look at everything. Look at how he reacted last. It wasn't particularly spectacular. Look at Ancelotti, who was supposed to be a dinosaur as well. He is absolutely dominating, Europe, and so let's not buy into this. And as soon as you hear those narratives come out, it's like, I'm sure somebody is behind that narrative, and his first name is Daniel. So
Jory, just before we let you go, we actually do have a game to play tomorrow against Wolves.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
First of all, would you go unchanged from the West Ham and Chelsea games? And second of all, what is your score prediction?
So going with my theory, we're going to be playing our best team. I don't think we'll rest anybody either, because I actually think with the rest. Like I think it's not detrimental to the Champions League game. So yeah, I think we'll play our best team. I think it's going to be a tough one. Besides that, I think in terms of the defense yesterday, I mean Sanchez and Dyer, I don't need to say anything. But I also think in terms of defense and going forward, the lack of Amazon is becoming huge now. That's great news. Finally, a little bit of good news in our club. But I think. But I just think that Wolves are too gritty and too well organized that we might steal a 1-0 win is what I'm thinking. I do think a draw is quite likely as well. But yeah, I think we'll at least come better prepared and more up for it than. That is, I mean, if it's raining, we're probably going to be shit. But
coming out with the Klopp excuses today, but no, Jory, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on today, and we'll speak.
All
to you
right,
next
guys,
time.
take care. Great show, by the way.
Cheers.
Thank you, Jory.
Bye bye. And that was the Joracle. Up next, we have Amir. Yes, Amir, how's it going, my brother? Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
I can hear you now.
We've seen better days after that Sheffield result,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I know it was terrible Wednesday night, but surely we just have to put that behind us and move forward, because we've still got the league contend with top 4 and Champions League. But in terms of the conversation that we were having before, are you another fan that's maybe just like losing a bit of interest this season now the FA Cup's gone?
Well, yeah, I'm seething. I'm actually seething, and when the result happened, the writing was on the wall from the 30th minute, when we just weren't attacking and didn't create anything, and it was just real lack of effort there by the boys. So we're just not in a good place, and yeah, okay, you can say we're battling for top 4, and yeah, we're still in the Champions League. Okay, even if we manage to sneak by Milan, to be honest, we're not really competing in the Champions League, because if we come up against one of the big boys, I don't fancy our chances.
Didn't we say that the same in 2018? 2019?
We did indeed, but I just think the circumstances here are a bit different. They're a bit different. There we had the potch, the momentum. Here we don't know what's going on. Conte, what's happening with that, the whole leaving situation. And you've got a squad there of players that's not, for me, it's not good enough to go and win a Champions League, Ben. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Sure, if you brought in 3, 4, 5, quality players to replace some of the dross that's lying around, you might have a shot. But I'm not too.
But we had Winks and Sissoko in the middle last time. I mean,
it's true. Look, it's true. And Greece won the Euros once. There flukes do happen. But I can't see it happening again for us. Honestly, usually I am positive. And for me, top 4. Then we've just maintained from last year. We haven't built on what we've done. Okay, we got top 4. I would have rather finished 7th and won an FA Cup than finish top 4. So I'm really annoyed. I'm really annoyed by the result and the performance, to be honest, as well. I can't even think of 2-3 chances that we created in that match.
There was that one at the end from Harry Kane. I mean, that was the only clear-cut chance really that we created, wasn't it?
Clear cut as well, but he didn't manage to connect with it even. So it's very disappointing, man. It's very, very disappointing. And I think this is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call, and these players, I would have loved one of those, the shows that they do with the behind the scenes, the Amazon, the Netflix. I would have loved to see what the players were like after that performance, what the dressing room was like, what the atmosphere was like. Who was shouting at who? Did they actually care? Because
It sounds
I've
like by
seen
Stellini's words that he laid into them.
too right,
Yeah.
Ben. Too right. But how many times have we seen this? This is the issue I'm having. Like, if we're considering ourselves to be a big club and to challenge for titles and to be serious, you cannot go and lose. You can beat Chelsea and beat City and lose 4-1 to Leicester and then lose to Sheffield United. Now, I don't even want to go into the history of the last 5 years and the teams that we've lost to, because it's laughable, lads. It's laughable. Do you think any of the big clubs around Europe would allow themselves to be beaten? I don't even want to mention the names because it really is a joke. And it's time we start taking ourselves a bit more seriously. Time for a wake-up call throughout the club, throughout the fans as well. If there's fans out there that are happy with this and where we're at, like, honestly, I think you need to reconsider your thoughts and kind of reevaluate, because going out at the fifth round of the FA Cup year after year after year, a trophy that we used to win all the time, a trophy that when we were kids, Ben, we had the more FA Cups than Arsenal. It's not okay. It's simply not okay. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it, really.
What's your thoughts on the game tomorrow? I mean, are you thinking unchanged lineup from Chelsea West Ham?
Nah, I think you stick Kane back in there. You want to get the 3
No,
points.
I mean unchanged from Chelsea and West Ham. So Kane, Richarlison, Kulusevski.
Oh, yeah, something along those lines. You could always switch Richie out for Son. Because I think, at the end of the day, we paid 60 million for this guy. Obviously, I still give him, a chance. He hasn't scored a Premier League goal. Now,
Yeah.
another thing you've got to be looking at, our scouting team, sacked the bloody lot of them. We were on here, Ben, maybe a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, and I was telling you, Manor Solomon. Manor Solomon is a great player. Manor Solomon's going to be the next thing. Manor Solomon, he's a brilliant player. If I can see it, I'm just your average football fan. I'm not a scout. I'm not paid to look at players. I'm just your average football fan who likes to watch a bit of Spurs and a bit of other football around the globe. And here he is scoring 4 goals in 4 games for Fulham. So I don't understand. I don't understand what our club is doing through top to bottom, scouting, the players' mentality. Whether we're going to have a manager or not in the future. Is Conte going? Is he not? It's just, I'm not.
Yeah, but look, I mean, having said that on Manor Solomon, right? I mean, we've seen longer stretches and better sort of form from Richarlison in an Everton shirt. We just haven't seen it in a Spurs shirt yet.
That's right, and he hasn't been given a chance, Ben. He hasn't been given his chance properly, fully. So that's what I'm saying. The jury's still out, but I want to see a lot more from Richie. A lot more.
And also in terms of the scouting system that you're talking about, I mean, hasn't it got a lot better since Paratici has come? When you look at the players that have come in this door since Paratici has come, I mean, you're talking about top quality players in Romero, Kulusevski, Bentancur, these kind of players. There's more as well. Emerson's starting to come good now. Pedro Porro, who we were all dying for, has come in through the door. Udogie, one of the most attacking wing backs in Europe, we'll see him next season. So hasn't the scout Pape Matar as well as another one who's going to be big for us? I mean, hasn't the scouting got a lot better since Paratici has come through the door?
It's improved. I don't know if I would say it's got a lot better. It's improved. If you're going from what we were doing before with the Ndombele's and all that, and the kind of things we did for the last decade before Paratici, you can say it's improved. But I still don't think it's at a tip-top level, and I still think that there's huge room for improvement there. Huge room for improvement. And this is the thing with Richie. I was kind of a little bit against his transfer in a way, because I was kind of like, we should have spent more money on bringing in a Bastoni Guardiola type centre back, then spending that money on Richie, and we could have got someone like Manor Solomon for 20, or 18. 16 or something like that. And to
Could
me,
have got
that's just,
Kavisha at 10.
yeah, there you go. And I think there's just better players out there than the players that we are looking at. Like, there's that Georgian guy out in Italy. I can't
So I'm
even
talking
pronounce
about
his name.
Kavisha. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, Krisha. Yeah. He's fantastic. There's players out there that I think, would help improve our squad a lot more than the likes of some of the people that we've been looking at. And yeah, you were asking about being disinterested. I got a lot of things going on at the moment, and Spurs is becoming disinterested now. There's no FA Cup. That draw that was there for us as well, the likes of Grimsby, the likes of Blackburn, only City and United left in it. It hits hard, lads. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we let you go, Amir, what is your score prediction?
The delusional me, like 4-0 Spurs, but that's just not going to happen. So the realistic option, only a draw, maybe like a 1-1. Maybe sneak somehow. Late Harry Kane header or something, 2-1. But that's in my wildest dreams, to be honest, at the moment.
Wildest dreams to nick a 2-1 win against Wolves.
Yeah.
But Amir, I've never seen you so dejected, man.
No,
and look,
it hit me hard, lads.
That Wednesday night was absolutely shocking. It really was.
Ben, I want to tell you how, it really felt. I did the pre-match pump up, and I was really worried. I was kind of the only one on the show there that was kind of, really worried about that lineup and about what we were doing. And then just as the game went on, I thought the writing's on the wall here. And when the goal went in, I was kind of like, this was coming. This was just, it was coming the whole time. And I wasn't even angry. Those ones where you're upset and you're not even angry? That's even worse. Anger, you can somehow vent it out, get it out. But I was just upset, and I'm still upset, to be honest. Still upset.
Like the rest of us, Amir, but thanks for coming on today. Hopefully the club can provide for us this weekend, at least to get us 3 points is the least that they can do. But
let's hope so. Thanks
for coming on, mate.
Nice one,
Let's
mate.
hope so, lads. Have a good weekend, guys. Shabbat shalom.
Big up. Shabbat shalom, man. All right, let's keep going. That was... I've never seen him so dejected before. It was really hard. But let's bring on Grandpa. Hopefully he can give us a positive spin on what is going on at the moment.
Hi, Grandpa.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Really well. My voice is still a bit croaky or sexy.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. And I'm not going to be as negative as Amir, although I understand it because I felt just like him at the end of the match. And I think... I feel about that match, it was an absolute disaster, and it was almost predictable because when City did so well with City, we did so well with Chelsea, and then he doesn't play the same team, and it was almost natural to play. I know he's worried about Milan and giving Kane a rest, but not to play Romero and play Sanchez is absolutely the biggest mistake he made there.
I agree.
And even at half time, he could have changed it. But he didn't. He didn't change it. I mean, one of the positives I thought in the first half was Mora.
Yeah.
I thought Mora actually played very well. It was fast, it was pace, going through the middle. But you can't say that for anybody else. The match was just awful. We were passing badly. We weren't intervening. And you have to admit, Sheffield United actually defended very well. And that goal, he just walked round 3 players. I mean, just brilliant. And Paratici was saying beforehand, it's going to be a difficult match. I mean, Sheffield United have only lost 1 match this season. So it clearly was going to be difficult. And therefore, as he knew it was going to be difficult, he should have played his best team. And I agree with Amir about that. I mean, there's no reason for him not to have played his best team.
Yeah, And it was very disappointing, wasn't it, to exit the FA Cup in a tournament which we have a very good chance of winning, considering a lot of the teams already out of the FA Cup. And now that we missed that opportunity, are you understanding that it's hard for fans to stay positive with the outlook of the season now that again it looks like we're unlikely we're going to go another season without a trophy now after going at the FA Cup? Or do you still think we should hold out hope for maybe doing something special in the Champions League?
Yes, I hope so. I think we've got the players that can do it. If we don't get any injuries, and we played more or less the same team as we played against City, give or take one or two of the others, I think there's still an outside chance, at least to get to the semis. But an outside chance of winning, and we've got to hope for that, because I do believe we can play that football. We've proved it. We've proved that we can play good football, but we've also proved that we can play bloody bad football. If this is a mentality, is it, or just the team that was made up? My belief was we didn't have the right team.
Yeah.
He almost played a team to say, oh well, let's give all the good players a rest because of Milan coming up. I think I would rather have given them a bit of a rest tomorrow, but at least rested them for half the match, and then we did at least bring on Kane eventually. But he didn't bring on Emerson. He didn't bring on.
Emerson was injured. Yeah.
Was he injured? Oh, I didn't know that.
He's fit for tomorrow, though. Good news.
Okay. Well, Romero certainly.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sanchez was partly to blame for that goal. And I think if Romero had been there, it wouldn't have happened.
Grandpa, you've been saying on the last couple of fan shows, maybe the players are not fancying Conte. They're shouting at him on the sidelines. We've looked a lot better since Conte has left. I mean, what was the excuse for a Wednesday night? Why didn't the players look up for it?
Because whoever put that team together, they didn't play the right team. I mean. I don't know whether that's Paratici or that's Conte. We just don't know that. But I just think we did badly because we had the wrong team. We didn't play it as if it was going to be an important match. We said, "Oh no, they're a league below us, and we can rest a few players." That was the thing.
Do you think that goes to maybe the priorities set by the management, or maybe as a club, what our priorities are? Do you think that goes into it, or you just think it's a case of we underestimated Sheffield United?
I think we underestimated Sheffield United, yeah. Although when in Paratici's conference, he actually said we're going to have a very difficult game. They're a good team. And he was right about that. So why didn't he back that up by putting out a good team? So I don't know. It's very, very frustrating because after Chelsea, I was in such a great mood. So were the fans. I mean, it was just wonderful when we were there, weren't we? Hearing the cheers and happiness. And, in a space of 3-4 days, we were in desperate state again.
It happened.
Hotspur, Grandpa.
You should be getting used to it, Grandpa. We beat Man City 1-0. Everyone's on top of the world, and we get battered 4-1 by Leicester a few days later, and then everyone's back to crisis mode again. It's just so taxing mentally supporting this club. You don't know where you stand. As soon as you give up hope, they pull out a result, and as soon as you think you're onto something, they'll let you down again.
That's right. I love the team. And I'm hopeful that they will get it together. Who's going to be the manager? Who's going to be the scouts that Amir was talking about? What's the team going to look like in the summer? We don't know, but we can only wait for that. Hope some miracles happen with Milan, and I do hope we stay in the top four. I think that's quite important. That if we finish in the top four, I'll feel reasonably satisfied the season. We've had a lot of bad luck with injuries. I know we didn't have the backup players for the people with injuries, but we're getting there with that. There's some positives with some of the new players and some of the people coming out of the academy. Hopefully that will change out next season. But I think this season, I'm nowhere as positive as I was 2 weeks ago.
Well, maybe after a couple of wins, then you'll get back to that positivity, Grandpa.
I hope so. So that's all I can say. I don't think there's any magic anybody can do at the moment, other than play the best team we've got in each match.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think it's got to do that tomorrow. I mean, I'm predicting 2-0. But it is dependent on who he plays, because if he keeps resting people, because we've got Milan 3 days later. I don't know how we'll get on.
Yeah.
They've got to prioritise a bit, but we'll see. I still think we're a good team. We've got a good ground. I'm not sure about the manager now. I'm not sure whether he wants to be there or not there. Paratici is in all sorts of trouble anyway. I don't know.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult.
All will be revealed, Grandpa. All will be revealed. Thank you for coming on.
I'm still going to cheer for them. I'm still going to wave the big flag that you've got for them, and I'm still going to wish them well, because I'm a fan. And,
Absolutely.
It's a good message.
Us fans.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Grandpa.
Thanks a lot, Grandpa. I'll see you later for dinner. See you
Look forward
soon.
to it. Yeah.
Looking forward.
Okay.
you, Grandpa.
Bye. Bye.
Always great getting that positive spin on everything from Grandpa Brian once again. Have we got... Yeah. We've got another guest just loading him up as we speak.
All right, give us a few.
There was a super chat from Jaden saying he thinks Danjuma will do better than Son and Rishi. I mean, are we just going to go all the way from now to the end of the season with like Danjuma just not playing? Like, when's he going to get his chance?
Don't know. I thought
we're
it would
out
have
the
been.
cups.
Yeah, it's a great question. Maybe Champions League he will get more of a go because he did well in the Champions League for Villarreal, but I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question because this is the problem I had when we signed him. We signed Danjuma, who's natural either on the left or up front, and we have two of those players right now ahead of him. So why, like, he would have been played more if he was a backup to Kulu. But if he's more natural on that side, then he's going to be waiting for Son to fall out of form. Now he's waiting for Rishi to fall out of form, then he'll get his chance. So maybe considering he's waiting. But then again, when Rishi goes back out of form, is he going to go with Danjuma or back to Son? You know what I mean?
He'll go back to Son.
Exactly. So when is he ever going to get a chance? I don't know.
Well, let's see if Ashmatic has the answers for us. Let's bring him on next.
Yes, boys, what's going on? You right?
What's going on, Ash?
Big up, big up.
How you doing, mate? How you
Love
doing?
my people, love, man. Yeah, man, my answer is he won't get that chance. I think the problem is with Sonny, we're playing Sonny as an attacking midfielder, not as a wing forward, in my opinion. And basically his body shape is wrong sometimes. He's not making runs off the ball. He's getting the ball in between the lines, that's in between the defence and midfield. And what's happening is because his first instinct is to dribble, it's a bit like when Lucas Moura kept running into brick walls. When Son picks up the ball, he's not scanning properly, because if he was scanning, his first touch could either beat the player or he could do a 1-2 and then run into space, or he could just find a better option. A lot of the time, what I saw against Sheffield United was he sometimes was playing a little bit too close to Richarlison. And as a result, Richarlison was either A, not able to find him, or B, Richarlison was doing funky passes because Son wasn't making the right runs. So I'm quite disappointed that Son's not making more runs in behind, and he's waiting for the ball into feet. And then as soon as he gets that ball into feet, he's getting caught and he's having to dribble backwards because they're doubling up on him. And a lot of his shots have been outside the box because of that result, because he's not making those runs in behind like he was or like he used to. And we've identified already that teams are getting wise to how we're playing. So when Richarlison was playing up top, what he was trying to do was trying to do a first-time pass without looking, and those first-time passes weren't coming off. You know, when Kane does it, it comes off. What Richarlison needed to do, he needed to take a touch first and then pass. But because he was too eager to impress and try and get the monkey off his back, sometimes those passes were either to the wrong person or they weren't finding a player. So I would have liked to see Dan Juma, because then Dan Juma, when he first came on, he was trying to make those runs in behind. And actually, when he did take his first touch was into space, or his first touch was beating a player, and he was able to dribble up the pitch successfully, especially when he used to hug the pitch. With Son, there was one time he did hug the width where he was a bit wider, and he did get a bit of joy. He did dribble, he did beat a player, but he did lose the ball. It came back to him, but it still resulted in nothing because, again, he wasn't really looking around to see what his best option was. A bit like when Kulu came on. As soon as Kane came on, or especially Kulu, I'd say, players started running behind, started to see the difference. And I think the frustration for a lot of fans is, especially for me in the pump up, I was trying to be positive. So I didn't really say what was really on my mind when the lineup came up. If you ever saw the pump up, my face at all, I was like that. I had to hold my mouth because it was Lucas Moura that was notoriously known for dribbling. Son, again, that's notoriously known for dribbling. And then Richie, who's not really on form, he's not really good at protecting the ball and shielding the ball as well as a Kane. So I was thinking, where's the creativity? What are we going to do? Now, you look at Perisic and you look at Porro. Perisic and Porro, they were going to be our wing backs. So naturally, we're going to have a lot of width on the pitch. But for me, Perisic's creativity or his assists have mainly come from set pieces and corners. It hasn't been from open play as much. So I was really struggling to see where our creativity was coming from, seeing that we have two in the middle. And obviously a lot of fans have been complaining that because we haven't had a lot of creativity from those two midfield outlets. And when you look at Saar was probably our most forward-playing midfielder out of the two of them, and I think Højbjerg was the one to sit a lot of the time. And I felt like in that game, Højbjerg, when he did get a touch on the ball, he was the one that wasn't turning quick enough to find a front three, because if the midfielders aren't finding our front three, then you expect someone like Sanchez to play a first-time ball into our front three, into the channels, because that's the only way our front three are going to get service. How else are they going to get the ball? So when you're looking at creativity, you're scratching your head like, wow, this is going to be a hard game. In fact, Richarlison's chance when he shot over the bar actually was from Sanchez. Sanchez plays the ball into him, into the half space. He comes, he collects the ball, and Richarlison, funny enough, he lacked composure in that final third. Even when he did get his chance in the second half, when it came to him, Sonny was too close to him. And because Sonny was too close to him, instead of Sonny playing off them and going towards the right, and then, Richarlison would have had a better chance, because Sonny would have pulled a defender away from him and to open up a chance to have a better chance of either shooting or playing Sonny in. Well, because Sonny wasn't doing those runs in behind, he came too close to him as an attacking mid. Richarlison panicked because the defender was near him. He's taken a bad touch, he snatched at it, and it's gone towards like a throw-in. You know what I mean? And so the chemistry, I was worried about the front three's chemistry at the start of the game, and I thought, we might be in trouble here, because Bramall Lane, we haven't got an amazing run of games like at Bramall Lane. We haven't really been successful under the lights at Bramall Lane, or just in general. Our away form against them hasn't been really good, apart from that cameo with Dembele when he scored that lob and Kane scored that goal as well. When we had that fixture, that away fixture. Apart from that, we've been woeful against Sheffield United. But I think, moving on, I think the front three, there's a toss-up between Son and Richarlison. Me personally, I would like to see Dan Juma get played on that left-hand side. But as he's been a lone option, I doubt that they're going to play him instead of either Richarlison or Son. I think they'd rather see Richarlison, which they invested 50 million, or Levy invested 50 million in, because it was a Levy buy. he's going to want him to start. I don't think they're going to outlay that much money on a player and then not start him. So I think he's going to get the nod again, or Sonny, because Sonny obviously is our talisman and everybody loves Son. And he brings a lot of fans to the stadium. He brings a lot of media interest. And let's face it, you've got 40 million fans in Korea. That's a lot of TV revenue. So I don't blame him if Son starts, because, as you know, Champions League's been a priority ever since Pochettino's been in. Even Poch used to have weekend teams for FA Cup runs. So a lot of the fans have been crying out for Poch. But guess what? Poch would have played a weekend team for FA Cup side as well. So it would have been the same result. And I think Levy had gotten into Poch's head. And I think that's the reason why Levy's even come out and said, oh, I wouldn't mind Poch coming back. I'm not against Poch coming back. Because that narrative is right there for us. They won Champions League. It's a Champions League thing at Tottenham. Top 4 is priority. Let's not get that mistaken. Obviously, Levy's going to say, oh, yeah, I want to win cups, because he's not going to want, like, his media, his PR team are going to advise him, look, you've got to say that, man. Do you know what I mean? But
let's be honest, actually, he doesn't not want to win cups. He just doesn't want to prioritise the cups.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Saying. And his PR saying that as well. Like, you've got to mention that, like, otherwise it's going to come across a bit mad. But like, let's face it, like, if I'm being honest, Stellini picking that side, like, I think it was a management, I think it was a bit on their part. They did make a mistake. However, they would have looked at Sheffield United's weekend team, second string team, flu going around, and they would have thought, like, this should be enough, regardless. Yeah. But I would have looked at chemistry between the front three and the profile player of the front three as well, and the form going into it as well. I know what, like, they work behind training and they do certain things, but when you've got two players that like to dribble, and they like to dribble infield as well, it's not like they like to dribble outside, because the two wing backs are there, the wing backs push high up, and that's their space. But how I looked at it, I think this is an actual tactic, because Perisic was more of the attacking wing back, and Porro was slightly behind. He wasn't really pushing high up, like, until the second half came in. Then you saw Porro push a little bit higher up and started to venture in. But he starts his runs a little bit late, a little bit like Emerson. So I actually think that's a tactic, and that's why you saw sometimes you saw Lucas Moura out wide a bit more, and then again when Kulu comes on naturally, he pulls wide. He's naturally more of a winger for us, and he adds a bit more creativity because the space is there to attack, because the wing back's not in that position. So I honestly think that's a tactic. Similar with the two midfielders, one drops, one pushes, and then the first half I saw Sarr was quite high up, and even he had a shot on goal, not on goal, but he was off target, but he had a shot on goal because he was pushing up with the attacking three and he was kind of falling back. But I honestly think Son is an attacking mid. He's not a wing forward. He doesn't pull wide enough, and he's not making those runs in behind like he used to. And that's the reason. And Rich, like as I said before, he's not protecting the ball. He can't shield it like Kane. And that creativity is a massive problem. And that's the thing. That's why a lot of the fans are really, really disappointed in Conte, in even Paratici, because I'm not saying Paratici hasn't made good signings. He has. But in the profile player we needed an attacking mid that can play the killer pass, that can see the passes. Because if our defenders, our ball-playing defenders, if they're not going to feed our front three, who is? We need a profile like an Ericsson. Ericsson used to sit back sometimes in the midfield too. He used to sit back and be able to spray a ball or put a ball into our front line, and then sometimes push higher up and then do that killer pass. But where we don't have anyone in there, and everyone was crying out for that Maddison, please give us Maddison, please.
Conte said it himself.
They were stubborn. Yeah. Well, this is it. So like that attacking mid had to be a priority, and after that, it was like the split was either we need defenders, a left-sided centre back and a central centre back, or we need attacking mid, and neither came in. Albeit that we got Longley as a left-sided central centre back, he wasn't the quality of defender that kind of matched like a Romero, because Dyer's so passive I mean, to be fair to him, against Sheffield United, he did push up quite a bit, and he was more forward thinking. And it reminded me of the Man City Dyer in the first half. But as the game wore on, he was less and less assertive in going forward, because in the second half we were so passive. There wasn't a lot going on. They grew in confidence and they were aggressive when they were defending. When I saw Bulldog, when I saw the other left wing back, left centre back,
Yeah.
Jack
Robinson.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, Robinson. Robinson was. Listen. They were even the midfielder, the Irishman from Man City. He was, bro. They were on it. I was like, why can't we match that intensity? Why can't we have that same like passion? I know why. I know Stellini said energy, but it was that physicality, that kind of crunching tackle. Like to say, bro, you better think twice. As soon as Ndai came on, that's what should have happened. He should have had a tackle on him, crunching straight away, because he's that man that's going to dribble and cause you problems. And so coming into Wolves,
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Wolves. With it being a game like, they're quite a defensively solid team. They like to counter-attack. They're not going to kind of... they maybe might sit deep and try and frustrate Tottenham. Do you see this maybe being more similar to like the Chelsea and West Ham games, or do you see it more being similar to like the AC Milan and Sheffield United games? Like, how do you think the game's going to go on Saturday?
I think maybe it's a tough one, because as defensive as solid as they are, they've conceded 35 goals, and so have we. So maybe they're not as defensive as we think. On paper, they look defensive. By nature, they look defensive. But that's the reason why they're like 15th in the league. And I think the difference is we've got Kane. We scored a hell of a lot more goals than them. We scored like 41 goals. They scored like way less. I don't know how much they scored, about 19 maybe, I don't know.
18, yeah.
We 18, there you go. So like per game, we 1.8 goals per game, whereas they're way down. They're 1.4. They're a little bit less. They've got less firepower. So I mean, yeah, they are a threat, but again, up front they're toothless. Jimenez has got no real threat, and behind he's not the same player. He hasn't got the same intensity. He hasn't got the same drive. He's not the same threat in the air. I mean, he's been trying to get back to his form, but it's just not been happening for him. He's getting in good positions, but he's not the same attacking threat. I mean, they've got a good player in Sarabia. I think he's quite good. They've got Neves. Neves is good. They've got a few attacking players. They're all pretty on the ball. That's the thing about Wolverhampton. All their players can play on the ball. But when it comes to actually creating like big chances, or naturally they do create big chances, but when it comes to like, finishing them, that's where their biggest problem is. But again, we don't play well. When we play Forest, we don't typically play well away against them. At home we play well, but when it's away, it's a different matter. But I just think they're a bit toothless again. I think they're toothless. I think they'll have the ball a lot. I think they'll have the ball a bit more than us. They're similar to us in that they're happy not to have the ball, but I think they will dominate possession. And I think it's down to us. I think it's down to us for nicking the ball in midfield. If Dyer can do that same thing when he pushes forward and nicks the ball, and then Romero's not far behind and he pushes forward and nicks the ball, and then just passes it into the front three, then I think we can create a lot more opportunities. I don't see us creating a lot of opportunities down the sides. If Emerson Royal's to start and Davies is to start, I don't see them create a lot of opportunities for us in the wide positions. However, I do know Emerson likes to come inside a lot, and he links up well with Kulu if Kulu starts, and that can create opportunities for us because he brings other players in. And even him just running down that side can take a defender away, and if they don't follow him, then he can become a threat, and he can either shoot or pass, or he can deflect and come into one of our strikers' shooting lanes. I think Davies' energy is important, but I think his solidity is important because a lot of the attacking is going to come down that left-hand side. So I feel like Davies and Longley together as a defensive unit are going to have to be solid to try to break up the play and again just feed it into our forwards. I know that's not the only way we play our football, but like as a Spurs fan, it's hard after watching Sheffield United. even against Chelsea, we didn't create a lot. We didn't break them down. It literally came from a play from Skip. It came out from a mistake from their goalkeeper, and then it was a corner. So it wasn't like we broke Chelsea down. And again, with West Ham, we didn't create too many chances. It's not like we're creating bundles of chances for our front three. So I get why Spurs are really negative. I think the only way Spurs get positive right now is a good run in the Champions League. But even then, it's the performance. Performances need to pick up, because it's very hard to see how Tottenham are playing right now, how attacking playing, how we get these results. But I think we need a good 3 or 4 good performances and a good 3 or 4 results to pick us up the league.
Score prediction, Ash?
Score prediction. I'll go for 1-0. 1-0 Spurs.
1-0.
Yeah, I'll go for 1-0 Spurs. Yeah, we've got it in us.
Same as me.
We've got it in us. And yeah, man, I just think, the boys have to play now. We have to come off the back of the result. Obviously, they lost against Liverpool as well. They lost 3-0. So they're going to need a big bounce, and they're in front of their home crowd, so they're going to be up for it as well. But if we really are pushing for top 4, and that's what Levy wants, then I think, and that's what Conte wants, if that's what Stellini wants, if Conte's back as well, it'll be interesting to see how the boys react. If Conte,
I don't think he'll be back for this one. I don't think he'll be back for this one, no. I think maybe the Milan game. Maybe the Milan game.
Yeah, the Milan back. Yeah, you're right, Milan. Conte won't be back. Yeah. Conte won't be back. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the boys get a reaction from that disappointing cup exit. It'll be interesting to see if they care enough. Yeah. So I wonder if that big result will wake them up, and then the fans can get behind them to say, right, you know what, like we responded. And I want to see if Stellini mentions it as well. We needed a important bounce back after that cup defeat. Just to kind of galvanize the club again, because that cup defeat, I think so many fans had so much hope on that cup game because so many big teams went out, because it was Sheffield United, because of the 15-year wait as well. It's been 15 years, and because Conte was a cup-winning pedigree manager and he wanted to win, it was win. Yeah. So I think that kind of fed into the fan base, and the energy was this is our chance. We can actually do it. After we had Nuno, we had obviously Mourinho was sacked because of the loss of the League Cup. He was sacked a week before. Mm-hmm. I think the energy was around the FA. I think we really hoped we could win something. Even in the new age fans that don't really value the FA Cup as much, I think even they had hope, because just seeing for Kane, we don't know how long he's got left. And if we could have given him a trophy, then we thought maybe he would stay, and that would give him some impetus to stay and have a bit more hunger and desire. And we all think if Kane stays, we can build off Kane and we can add players. It would be such a shame if we lost him and he was demotivated, because then it would have to be how do you replace that? It's just more work if you lose him. So I honestly think, let's see how we respond back to this win. So I really hope Stellini has some positive words.
Let's hope so, man. Ash,
nice
always
one, Ash.
A pleasure on the watch along with Sim this weekend. So
come on.
Love.
Everyone tune in for that. It's going to definitely be a blockbuster with Sim and Ashmatic in the studio. But Ash, we'll see you soon. We'll speak to you soon, and come on, you Spurs.
Big up, boys. Come on, you Spurs. Big up.
Nice one.
Big up to Ashmatic once again, and that is all we have time for today. Predicted lineup will be with you very soon, as well as Stellini's press conference, which has been done now, just getting it up as we speak. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always,
come on you Spurs.